So you want to get into watches, but you don't really know where to start. There's a lot of information out there. Sometimes it's contradicting. You don't know where to get stuff or even get an idea of the ranges of prices that you can get stuff for. Should I get them used? Should I get them new? Well, I have a couple of watches here that I'm going to show you in no particular order, but I think they're a great way to start out and get something that is reliable and that it looks good. And ultimately that'll have you get started on the hobby of collecting watches without breaking the bank. So let's get started. The first watch I want to talk about is this one right here, the Casio Edifice EF548. And this is from the Casio brand, obviously their mid-tier line, which is the Casio Edifice line, which this particular watch will run anywhere from $80 to about $200. Especially if you look in the secondhand market, you might be able to find it for the cheaper end of the spectrum, but it's a great place to start. If you don't want to mess with a chronograph like this one, because it is more complicated, you can find other ones that are just regular time-telling watches. There's no other complications besides maybe like a day date window or something like that. But outside of that, they're very reliable, they're very capable, and they're all quartz watches basically. There's one that's a newer one of the Edifice line that's automatic, but outside of that, they're all quartz, so it's easy to repair, it's easy to just have, and a good place to start if you're a complete beginner in the watch collecting hobby. But yeah, first one right here, Casio Edifice EF548. The second watch I want to talk about is this one right here, the Timex Q. This watch right here is kind of a reboot of the Timex Q line from back mid-century, and it's a great watch. It's definitely more on the classier, dressier side as opposed to the previous Casio Edifice that I showed. This one is more, you can wear it in more like dressier situations if you need to wear a suit and tie, but it's also a really good casual wear watch. There's a variety of versions and colors for the bezel, for example, and also the dial, so you can basically take your pick. They're all very well constructed. This one is all stainless steel, including the band, and it's just a really great watch to have if you want to have something a bit dressier. This one I got for $59 on Joma Shop, so definitely a bargain. It's a quartz as well, so that means that it's reliable. You can change the batteries really easy, and it's just not a hassle to have. So I would say definitely check the Timex Q line of watches. This one, again, $59 all the way up to about $200 depending on where you get it, so definitely keep an eye out for it. New and used, you can find good deals. But yeah, Timex Q, amazing one to start out with. So you've heard about automatic watches, right? Maybe you got a couple of quartz now that you love, but you want to venture out into the more complicated world of automatic watches. This one right here is an amazing one to start out with, and it's the Orient Triton watch. It's a diver watch, as you can see, which means that the bezel, the thing that goes around the dial, that's the bezel, it turns, and it's unidirectional, which means it turns only one direction, and it's usually used for divers and stuff like that, so I won't get too much into the nitty-gritty of what it's used for. But this one right here is a great one to start out with. First of all, because it's an automatic, right? And it's a reliable automatic, which means that you don't have to service it too much. In fact, some people don't service them at all, especially like Orient and Seiko watches, and they're virtually indestructible. And this one right here, I would say, is one of those. As you can see, it has a beautiful dial, black. The bezel is black. Just a beautiful watch. All of it is stainless steel as well. The whole case and the bracelet. So the case is the actual meat of the watch. Really, really beautiful watch. Definitely one that I recommend to anyone wanting to start out with their automatic collection. Not a hassle, and it kind of gets your foot in the door of more complicated world of automatic watches. This one goes for about I would say depending on where you get it, all of these are depending on where you get them. If you get it used, it could be anywhere from around $100 to the newer side of things, which could be $200, $250. I believe I got this one for about $125 in the secondhand market, but you could always find deals online. I go to Joma Shop. That's where I've been shopping for years now. I'm not sponsored or anything, just that's kind of the store that I like to go to, and I always see them on special there. So definitely check out the Orient Triton automatic if you want to start out your automatic collection. The next watch on my list is from another well-known watchmaker, and it's none other than this one right here, the Seiko 5 SNK E03K1. Super long name, reminds me of Ibanez guitars. If you're into guitars, you know what I'm talking about. But in any other case, this is another automatic watch. So basically similar to the last one, the Orient, but this one is not a diving watch. The bezel does not rotate. But besides that, is an amazing watch. Now, I will say that this watch, first of all, is a Japanese only release. And second of all, I think it's discontinued. So you might have to do a little bit more digging to find it, but it's not impossible to find. And it's an amazing watch if you can catch it in the wild. So again, Seiko 5, this is all stainless steel in a beautiful black color. As you can see, the band has a combination of polished and also kind of brushed, as you can see there. It's a blacked out watch, so very stealth oriented. The dial has really good silver accents to it that I think make it pop against all that stealthy black around it. But this is another great watch to start out with. This one goes usually for, let me see, about 100 to 150, depending on where you find it. That's usually what I've seen it for. So it's not super expensive. I would say it's definitely well priced, especially being that it's a Seiko watch with an amazing workhorse movement behind it. And it looks amazing on the wrist, right? It's it's more utilitarian, so it's not as dressy, but since it's all black basically, I think you can definitely do a more dressier occasion for this one, but it's just a great watch to have. But yeah, Seiko 5 SNK E031K, another amazing one. Next one up, we have another Japanese brand. I'm gonna say towards the end why I chose basically all Japanese watches, but this one right here, the Citizen Corso Eco Drive watch. So Citizen is another one of the Japanese watch brands that's very reputable. It has a lot of amazing watches that are very reliable, extremely reliable. In fact, the Eco Drive movement is one of the most accurate and reliable movements in the whole watch industry, regardless of country of origin. And this one right here, outside of that Eco Drive movement, which essentially is a solar movement, is an amazing dressy watch. I would say this is a quintessential dress watch. You can wear it if you work in an office setting. You can wear it if you're going out to a fancy dinner, to any situation that you need to look your best. This one right here does that very well. As you can see, the dial is in black. The accents are in gray, or rather silver, and it just pops. It just looks way more expensive than it is. The whole watch is stainless steel, including the band, as you can see there. This one I got on the secondhand market, so it does have some scratches and dings and stuff like that, but still it punches way above its weight class. I would say if you need something that is dressy, you need to have that reliable watch that if you're going out, you need to look the best. This is a great one to have and check out. Now, this one, similar to the Seiko one, is also discontinued. I believe the whole Corsa line might have been discontinued. If not, this particular one I know is discontinued. But if you look closely in the secondhand market. You can find some of them. I got this one for about $80, and I think it's a great one to have if you can catch it in the wild. Definitely a good, in fact, a great one to have. So yeah, Citizen Corso Eco Drive quartz movement usually goes for about $80 to about $150 depending on where you get it. But definitely check this one out as well. And the last watch I want to talk about is a digital watch. So something to wear if you're going hiking, to gym, something that is more rugged. And I think some of you may know what I'm going to say, and it's the Casio G-Shock right here. And this one is the GA100MB. So this is one of G-Shock's kind of, not all the way at the lower end of the spectrum in terms of price, but it's kind of hitting towards the mid-range of G-Shocks. They range from like $100 all the way up to $500 and even higher in some cases, depending on where you land with the G-Shocks. But this is a good one to start out with. Again, it is a digital watch, as you can see there, and it also has a dial with analog hands, so it has both, and it's very technical. There's a lot going on there. I could make a whole video just talking about it, but it's a great watch because it's very rugged. It stands the test of time, and it stands up to anything that you throw at it, right? Water, mud, you know, rocks, whatever, right? It's meant to be rugged, and I think you need to have a rugged watch in your collection that you can just put on and go for a run, go hiking, go to the gym like I mentioned. You need some of that, right? So this is a good one to start out with. It's not overly expensive. I believe I got this one for about $50 on the secondhand market. And obviously it was already used, but you know, didn't really bother me. But it goes for about $50 to, I would say, $120, $130. Depending on if it's used or if it's new, where you get it. But I think it's a good investment to have a G-Shock or a digital watch that is rugged. Timex is also known to have similar watches, but I prefer the Casio G-Shock line. So definitely check this one out. All rubber, basically. So definitely rugged, right? It's a screw down in the back. And it's just a really, really nice watch. Very stealthy. And I love that about it. But yeah, definitely you gotta have, in my opinion, a rugged digital watch in your collection. And you can't go wrong with the Casio, any of the Casios. But this one is my personal favorite, the Casio GA100MB. An honorable mention, if you want something quirky, kind of out of left field, for me, has to be the Seiko Kinetic line. Now, this is a very unknown, or not as known, rather, watch line from Seiko, the Kinetic line. It doesn't have, I wouldn't say the worst reputation, because they're not bad watches at all. They're just very misunderstood, right? So quickly, the way they work is they have a rotor in the back. So similar to an automatic movement, which have rotors in the back, that thing right there is a rotor. This one has a combination of rotor and battery or capacitor, which is right above that. And basically the rotor charges a capacitor and then it makes it tick. It is a quartz watch, so you'll see that it ticks like a quartz watch does. And it could just be a hassle sometimes to get the capacitors, and they're just not unreliable, but you have to work them a bit more to make sure that they are up to snuff. But the reason why I wanted to mention this one is because it's extremely quirky outside of the movement. This one in particular, as you can see, has a very interesting sort of aesthetic, right? I made an in-depth review of this one in one of my videos, and I likened it to kind of an Art Deco style, if I want to call it that. It just kind of reminds me of like the 1920s aesthetic, right? And it's just very cool. It has a really nice black, almost iridescent dial. When you look at it towards the light, it gives it a goldish hue. It's hard to pick up on the camera, but it's a really beautiful watch. And the kinetic Seikos are not overly expensive. They can be kind of all over the place in terms of pricing, but I got this one, I remember, for about $60. Obviously it's used, it has a patina to it, right? I'm not sure if it was silver or gold. It might have been gold plated, but still it looks really good even as it starts to fade into that silver. But yeah, the kinetic line is a really quirky line of watches that I think is worth visiting, just to at least have one, just to say, hey, I got a Seiko Kinetic, and it's just really interesting, right? This one cost about $50-$60, but it can range from that price all the way up to $100, maybe $150. I have noticed that the Seiko Kinetics have gotten more popular in the last couple of months, maybe last year, so the prices are climbing steadily. So if you're interested in something like this or like any of the other Seiko Kinetics, I have more on my channel you can check out. Consider getting one now, right? But this one is a great one, honorable mention. So why did I choose mostly, in fact, only one of them was a non-Japanese watch brand? I think the reason why is, first of all, I started with Japanese watches, and for my opinion, whatever that is to you, I think they're one of the most reliable watch companies that you can buy, right? Either Seiko, Citizen, Casio. Those are the main Japanese watch companies that most people know, and I think they're the most reliable in a variety of price ranges, right? If you buy a Casio, that's $30, or if you buy Seiko, a Grand Seiko, which is thousands of dollars, you're going to get extremely great quality craftsmanship, and you're going to get a watch that is going to stand the test of time, not only aesthetically, but also just with reliability, which I think is extremely important, right? Especially if you're starting out in the watch hobby. You want to get something that's reliable. You want to get something that looks good, and you want to get something that doesn't break the bank. You don't have to spend $300, $400, $1,000 on a watch if you're just starting out. You can spend 50, you can spend 100, maybe 200. And I think in that range, you have a lot of flexibility with Japanese companies. And also because currently Swiss watches, the Swiss kind of realm is, to say the least, a bit iffy sometimes, right? What gets called Swiss made has kind of been changed to be kind of nice about it, right? So you see a watch that says Swiss made, and with regulations and stuff like that, it might be that only 40% of the watch needs to be Swiss made, or 50%. Essentially, you're not having the whole watch be Swiss made. Usually it's just the movement and maybe the dial that is Swiss made. So it's a bit more difficult to decipher what is a Swiss watch or not. And I think starting out with some Japanese watches kind of gets you learning about the hobby, and you can do more research into Swiss watches and start to venture into that. I'll make a follow-up video on some of the Swiss watches that I have and things to look out for and kind of be aware of if you do decide on going that route. But starting with Japanese watches, obviously Timex is not a Japanese brand. That's another great watch brand to start out with, especially starting out with an quartz watch, I think is kind of the place to be, and then venturing into some of the reliable automatics like Seiko, for example, or Orient. But overall, these are just kind of a small snapshot of the watches that I have, that I started out with, some of these, and that I would say are a great, if not amazing, place to start your watch hobby. I'll definitely make some more videos talking about other variants and other watches that you can start out with. and in general, just the collection that I have. But yeah, thanks for watching. Subscribe, comment. Let me know what watches did you start out with and what would you recommend other people that want to start the hobby. Let us know.